Hello. Today I'll be drawing the Shinsengumi from Gintama because I just started watching Gintama again and I thought it'd be fun to do like a little drawing session, which explains why I am in my PNG form, because if I had my live 2D I would be looking down the whole time. Anyways, to actually get back to the drawing explanation first, I had this basic idea back in May of last year, and this is where I started it with, but as you know, I get lazy and I only draw 1 to 2 people at most, so this drawing was never going to be finished. That is, until I got into pixel art and I was like, alright, what's an easier way to draw multiple people other than to work with a smaller resolution, you know? Let's go first work on Hijikata's jacket, I guess? Cause I had trouble doing the cross arm pose because I was like, what does a cross arm pose look like? So of course I looked for references, but even then I feel like I still don't have a solid understanding of what it should look like, if I'm gonna be honest. Basically, I had this idea of doing it so it looks like they're on the train after a long day of hard work. All being sleepy lads like I imagine them to be after all the shenanigans they go through. There will be periods of silence because just simply I usually work in silence, and you know how it is, right? It's a little strange to start talking to yourself when you usually never do. But that's something I wanted to practice because I understand if I'm gonna do streaming, I'm gonna have to talk and stuff. So what better way to practice for streaming than to do a drawing talking session? If I can speak correctly. Oh my god. I had the idea of talking about the con I went to recently, but I feel like I want to save that for another dedicated video where I specifically talk about that. If you follow me on my Instagram, you would have seen I had a couple cosplay photos and photos of the things that I bought at the con, which is pretty cool. I thought it was awesome because it was my first con ever and I really enjoyed it. As painful as the walking was, and I said I would keep that talking to a minimum because I was gonna do a video, but here I am talking about it. Okay, but as a little thing I wanted to show really badly was this little Ichiban keychain I got. Look at him! Look at him! He's so adorable! Oh, I love it so much. I adore it! Okay, yes, back to the drawing. Hopefully you guys can see it a fair amount because it is kind of dark in my room. I like to keep it... Well, it's not that I like to keep it dark, it's more like I have to because I need the fan on at night to sleep because it's so hot in my room. I do not have a good AC, or at least connection to my room, unlike the other rooms in the house. Unlucky for me. So I always have to keep it on, and it's kind of annoying to turn it on and off, like my light from the little thing, the hanging thing from your ceiling. I don't know what they're called. That's why I don't turn on my lights very much. But I do have some handy dandy lamps, which I could turn on to make the lighting a bit better, but I'm not gonna do that because I'm lazy. And it's too far from me where I'm sitting now. I don't actually know how long this video will be because usually I draw for about like 3 to 4 hours at most in one sitting. So, I mean, I definitely don't plan to like do a whole thing, you know? But maybe a 30-minute, maybe a 20-minute, something like that. I'll probably also speed up some parts because it just gets boring. I know how it feels because even I myself get bored watching my own stuff sometimes, so don't worry about it. I'm sure some of you guys may be curious as to maybe why I started to lean towards pixel art. And it's a valid question because it's so weird going from, you know, super detailed rendering to little pixels. Little simple pixels. But I say it's a welcome change because I was in a period of time where I really didn't like my drawing. Still don't. But ever since going for a simpler pixel route, I feel so much more comfortable in what I'm doing, where I don't feel, what's the word? Obligated to make it look realistic, I guess. There was a time where I started veering really towards realism, more like semi-realism, and it didn't look right. Everything I made didn't look right to me. It did for a time, but then it just started to look bad. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this no more. And luckily for me, I found a comfort in pixel art that I did not expect to find. I actually do not remember if Kondo was ever like into newspapers or anything, but I just decided to put one there because, I mean, it makes it a little less, what's the word? Too concentrated on one color, that being their uniform, because it's like a huge clump of dark contrast that I wanted to put something else there to maybe make it a little less, what's the word? Not boring, but monotone-esque? Bro, I swear, these days I cannot like speak right. I don't know what the cause is, but every time I'm trying to like think of something to say, I forget the word. And it's kind of annoying because I'm like, what? Where did my vocabulary go? It's like they just pieced out on me. I am still working on the pixel art tutorial, but I'm not entirely sure about what to talk about, what to explain. I guess maybe I'll veer it more towards like things that I had questions with when I first got started, because I know I wanted to get into pixel art a lot sooner than I did, which was more towards like the end of last year. And that was mostly because the lack of brushes and knowledge. I will sort of use myself as a reference to hopefully help guide whoever wants to know more about it. I just created this new overlay looking setup for my drawing. I usually don't talk while drawing, so I had to get my camera all set up and webcam stuff so that I can record it while speaking. I do enjoy speaking over like a time lapse, but I do find it a little harder to talk about my process when I'm not doing it. You know, like speaking after the fact is what I find difficult. Instead of doing it that way, I wanted to talk while I draw so that when something comes up, I can speak about it at the moment, you know? Except, of course, my speaking is not very eloquent and I have a lot of uhs and ums and stuff like that, which can be annoying for some, I'm sure, but that's just kind of how it is. I do have to fix that because I understand where it can get annoying to listen to. But I did make this little overlay for this particular occasion. And I initially wanted to go with a pink pastel look, like always. That's why I set up my PNG tuber to have this sort of pinkish overlay color so that it would match with the background. But then when making the background, I was like, but the blue looks so good. Like, imagine a blue city with sparkles and stuff. And I was like, ah, fine. So I went with the blue, like I always do. It's my, oh, where'd my tissues go? No! My nose has been super runny these days. I cannot explain why, but probably allergies, which is kind of weird because I never leave the house. But yes, I do have really bad allergies, even though I never leave the house, which is weird to me. Unless I've got the whole idea of allergies wrong, and that's not the right way of thinking about it. Whenever I draw, I typically work on layers on top of the line art because my line art is usually way too rough for me to make anything out, and I don't really want to go through a second pass to figure out what was what, because it always seems to lose an essence of itself. Where, you know, I'm pretty sure you know that thing where you draw a sketch and the sketch looks better than the line art. That's the thing that I found to be really annoying. So I forgot which artist that talked about it, but they said to just use your rough sketch as the line art and just work on top of it to fix the things that you don't like. So in a way, you're still keeping the essence of what you put down, but like make it nicer instead of giving it a whole new process itself. I take that as my personal motto, so that is why my stuff looks the way it does now. And it's a good way to think about it. Instead of giving it a whole new meaning, you just work with what you have. That's just what works best with me, at least. I don't know if I want to add in the background now or afterwards. So I feel like doing it now will help make it more cohesive, but also I want to finish their clothes so I don't have to look at this unfinished. I didn't in particular think of an idea about what the background would look like, but hopefully with my random choices it'll be okay. Maybe like the countryside-esque mountains. To be fair, I haven't really kept up with much of the Gintama stuffs, so I'm not entirely sure where this would fit in. Where is it? Where is the unfinished line? Swear to God. Just use a thicker brush. There we go. Try not to make it overlap too much, especially in like one area. What are those called? Tangent lines? Yeah, tangent lines. Don't want that. Maybe like this? Like a dull. If I remember correctly, they say the foreground should be lighter going back further, so I will do another one to be back here. Well, maybe not in the exact same. Oh, that looks weird. It needs to be more soothing, smooth rolling hills like that. And let me change this to be a opaque. I don't know if more saturated is better or not. Oops. Why? I thought I had the same color. Oh, no, I don't. And then make it lighter? I don't know if I like the more saturated or the less saturated. Maybe the less saturated is better? Surely this is gonna take me double the amount of time that I would expect because I'm also doing more of a background as well. But even then, I ain't even mad. I like taking my time doing stuff like this, especially if it's environment related. I gotta capture the feeling, the essence. Rectangle fill. That makes my life easier. That's too thick. Something like this. Make it more yellow. I don't want to make it too yellow because that kind of takes away, I feel, because the entire thing is yellow. So I might change the background to be a dull green, maybe? I'm imagining this time setting would be the late afternoon with the yellow sunset setting in. Make it a little like this, maybe a little bit more green. A little darker. That makes it look more like a lime green. It's going more for like a dull green? Gray green? Yeah, I kind of like that. Yeah, let's go with this. Oh, I didn't explain the initial thing about... Okay, so... talk about the initial drawing of this. So what I did to get from that thing to this, that thing, to go from the more detailed piece to a pixel piece, right? I first inserted the previous sketch to this and then shrunk it down to an unbelievable amount, if you can see it here. I shrunk it down by like a lot and then cropped it. So after cropping it, it became this jumbled mess of pixels, which is kind of unreadable, but that's okay because I don't care too much about that. And from there I made not this sketch, which was a larger pixel size. So this is probably maybe over 200 pixels, just simply so I could have more detailed in them. Then I shrunk this like a lot actually, because I was like, I don't really want to work with large pixels for the background, especially because choosing the colors is not my forte, and working with big space is kind of nerve-wracking. So I made it tiny like this until, well, see, it became super duper tiny because, you know, I didn't do the exact same size, but that's where I landed upon this size, where I was like, ah, I like this. They're small, but not too small. They're still detailed enough that you can make out what is what and who's who. And then I have the background and stuff, you know. And then that's when I started to work on this, yes? With my sketch, background sketch, little square. The square outline like this is more just for my reference. I will probably crop that out in the end just so I can have like the full picture of them only without that. It doesn't look bad though. I kind of like the green look with it, but I don't know. I don't know what I want to do yet. But I also have this, I think it was pin light, yeah, on top to make it more orangey together, more cohesive, and a little bit more sunset vibe, which I turn off for now until I need to use and worry about that later. I don't know when I want to end this. I did not get very much done at all whatsoever. Okay, well, it's about the 30-minute mark, and I don't really want to continue on a rambling drawing or whatever. So now, although I didn't get much done, as you can tell, it's still very unfinished, but I hope you enjoyed my drawing session. No script, no nothing, so that's new. At least you got a little bit more insight into my drawing process, and I do plan to make more drawing sessions because it's kind of fun to just talk while drawing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!